Listen, nobody gave Detroit a chance coming into last night. Nobody. The analysts had moved on. The sports talk shows were already debating who Orlando would face in the second round. Skip Bayless was probably already writing his takes about how the number one seed collapsed. ESPN had quietly shifted their bracket conversation. The basketball world had essentially decided that this Pistons season was over. And then Cade Cunningham walked onto that court in Detroit and reminded everybody exactly why you never write a team off before the final buzzer sounds. 45 points. A Detroit Pistons franchise playoff record in an elimination game. Against a Magic team that had beaten them 3 times already in this series and came into Wednesday night 1 win away from pulling off one of the biggest upsets of the 2026 NBA playoffs. But here is what makes this story even more insane. Cade was not the only one going for 45 last night. Paolo Banchero matched him point for most of that game. 2 stars. 2 franchise players, both dropping 45 in the same playoff game on the same night. That almost never happens in NBA history. And when the final buzzer sounded, only one man's team was still standing. Detroit won 116-109. The Pistons lived to fight another day. And Game 6 is Friday night in Orlando with everything still on the line. This is the full breakdown. Let's get into it. Now, to understand why Wednesday night hit so differently, you have to understand the situation Detroit was actually in. The Pistons finished the regular season as the number 1 seed in the entire Eastern Conference. That means they had the best record in the East. They earned home court advantage throughout the entire playoffs. They were supposed to be the team that coasted through the first round, got some rest, and waited for whoever survived the chaos in the rest of the bracket. That was the plan. That was the expectation. That was what every expert, every analyst, and every betting line had mapped out before the first tip-off of this series. Then Orlando happened. The 8th-seeded Magic, a team that nobody outside of Florida was picking to cause serious damage in these playoffs, came into Detroit in Game 1 and won. Then they won Game 2 on the road, as well before heading back home. They won Game 3 in Orlando. They came back to Detroit and won Game 4. Just like that, the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference was sitting at home, down 3-1, staring at elimination with their entire season riding on 1 game in front of their home crowd. The pressure was suffocating. The doubt was real. And the history of teams coming back from 3-1 in the NBA playoffs was not exactly giving Detroit fans a lot of comfort. In the entire history of the NBA, only a small number of teams have ever successfully come back from a 3-1 deficit to win a series. The 2016 Cleveland Cavaliers did it against a Golden State Warriors team that had won 73 regular season games, and people still talk about that comeback as one of the most miraculous things that has ever happened in professional sports. LeBron James was playing at a level that felt almost supernatural in those final 3 games of that series. The 2020 Denver Nuggets did it twice in the same playoffs, with Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray playing some of the most clutch basketball the league had seen in years. Murray, in particular, was ice cold in those elimination games, walking into hostile arenas and performing like the pressure was doing absolutely nothing to him. Those comebacks are the exception. They are the rare moments. The rule is that when you go down 3-1, you go home. Detroit knew that. Orlando knew that. The entire basketball world knew that going into Wednesday night. And Cade Cunningham decided none of that history applied to him. 13 of 23 from the field, 5 of 8 from three-point range, 14 of 14 from the free throw line, 45 points total. Let that shooting line settle in for a moment, because every single number in it is remarkable on its own. Shooting 13 for 23 in a playoff game where the opponent is running every defensive scheme they have specifically designed to stop you is already a great performance. Going 5 for 8 from three-point range in a pressure elimination game when the defense knows you are looking to shoot is the kind of efficiency that coaches draw up on whiteboards, and players almost never actually execute when the moment is real. But the free throw line is where this performance becomes truly special. 14 attempts from the line in a playoff game means the defense was fouling him, which means he was attacking, which means he was being aggressive and physical and getting into the paint and making the Magic pay every single time they tried to stop him. And he made all 14. Not 13. Not 12. All 14. Perfect. In an elimination game, when missing even 1 or 2 of those free throws late in the fourth quarter could have completely changed the outcome of the game. That kind of performance, under that kind of pressure, tells you everything you need to know about where Cade Cunningham is as a player and as a competitor right now. His true shooting percentage on the night was 77.2%. That number is almost unreal for the volume of shots he was taking. He was not cherry-picking easy looks and padding his stats in garbage time. He was the primary option all night long, taking difficult shots against a defense that was specifically built to stop him. And he was converting at a rate that most players cannot reach in practice sessions with nobody guarding them. He also finished with 5 assists, 4 rebounds, and a steal, which tells you he was not just in isolation mode all night. He was reading the defense, finding his teammates when the double teams came, and making the right basketball decisions, even while carrying the entire offensive load for a franchise that needed every single point he gave them. Now the supporting cast stepped up when it mattered too, and that cannot be overlooked. Tobias Harris played one of the quieter great games you will see in a playoff setting. 23 points on 9 for 18 shooting, 8 rebounds, 1 steal. Harris was the second option that Orlando could not ignore, and that matters enormously because every minute their defense spent thinking about Tobias Harris was a minute they were not able to fully focus on stopping Cade. That is how winning basketball works at the highest level. You cannot have 1 star and 4 passengers in an elimination game. You need your second and third options to show up and make the other team pay. Harris did exactly that on Wednesday night. Ozar Thompson was everywhere defensively, finishing with 15 rebounds, 6 assists, and 5 steals. 5 steals in a single playoff game is a number that disrupts an entire offense's rhythm and momentum. Jalen Duren gave Detroit 12 points and 9 rebounds in the front court. Duncan Robinson knocked down 3 of 6 attempts from three-point range and scored 12 points off the bench. Detroit got contributions from every corner of their roster, but the engine driving all of it was number 2. Now let us talk about Paolo Banchero for a moment because his performance deserves genuine respect even in a losing effort. The Magic star scored 45 points of his own on 17 for 30, 1 shooting from the field, 6 for 11 from three-point range, with 9 rebounds and 7 assists. That is a complete offensive performance from one of the best young players in the entire league. On most nights in most playoff games, a 45-point performance from your star player is enough to win the game and close out a series. Banchero was spectacular. He was aggressive, he was efficient, he was making shots from everywhere on the court and creating opportunities for his teammates all night long. The fact that Detroit still won despite Banchero going for 45 tells you how extraordinary Cade Cunningham's night actually was. 2 players, both at the absolute peak of their games, on the same court, on the same night, both scoring 45. That combination almost never happens in NBA playoff history. When it does happen, the basketball world stops and pays attention. Last night, the basketball world stopped and paid attention. Now here's the reality of where this series stands heading into Game 6 on Friday night. Detroit is currently a 58% favorite to win that game according to the latest probability models, which makes them the slight favorite even on the road in Orlando. But numbers and probabilities only tell part of the story. Orlando is going home to a crowd that is going to be louder and more energized than they have been at any point in this entire series. The Magic fans know exactly what is at stake. They know their team is 1 win away from eliminating the number 1 seed and completing one of the biggest upsets of the 2026 playoffs. That crowd is going to be rocking from the opening tip to the final buzzer. The Magic players are going to feed off that energy and come out with everything they have because they understand that 1 more win sends them to the second round and sends Detroit home. Detroit, on the other hand, has to go on the road and win not just 1, but potentially 2 straight games against a team that has already beaten them 3 times in this series. That is an enormous ask for any team regardless of how talented they are or how well their best player performed in the previous game. The history of playoff basketball tells us that momentum is real, that belief is real, and that a team which survives elimination and wins a must-win game at home can carry that energy into the next game on the road. But history also tells us that closing out a series at home is one of the most reliable advantages in playoff basketball. Orlando will not take the court on Friday night feeling nervous. They will take the court feeling hungry, confident, and completely aware that everything is still in their hands. The Detroit Pistons have been through a long journey to get here. Not long ago, this franchise was one of the most difficult situations in professional basketball. Losing seasons piled on top of each other, lottery picks year after year. A rebuild that seemed like it might take forever to actually produce results on the court. And then slowly the pieces started coming together, the young players started developing, the front office started making smarter decisions, the culture inside that locker room started shifting from acceptance of losing to genuine expectation of winning. And when Cade Cunningham arrived and started becoming the player everyone believed he could be, something changed in Detroit. The city started paying attention again. The building started getting loud again. And this season, when the Pistons finished with the best record in the Eastern Conference, it felt like the reward for years of patience and rebuilding had finally arrived. Wednesday night was not just a basketball game for Detroit. It was a statement. It was a moment that said, this team is not finished, this city is not finished, and this young star at the center of everything is ready to carry this franchise into the conversation with the best teams in the league. Whether Detroit completes this comeback or not, what Cade Cunningham did on Wednesday night against Orlando is the kind of performance that gets remembered, the kind of night that gets replayed on highlight shows for years, the kind of game that a player points back to later in his career and says, that was the night I knew I was ready for anything this league could throw at me. Game 6 is Friday night in Orlando. Everything is still alive. The series is not over. The story is not finished. and Cade Cunningham is just getting started. Now, I want to hear from you directly. Do you believe Detroit pulls off this comeback and joins the rarest club in NBA playoff history? Or do you think Orlando closes it out at home on Friday night and sends the number 1 seed home in one of the most stunning upsets of the 2026 playoffs? Every take is welcome here. Every prediction deserves to be made. This is the moment where the community gets loud. Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. Let the debate begin. Tell me exactly what you think is going to happen in Game 6 and why. And if you are new here and this video found you at the right moment, hit that subscribe button right now and join the Abdali Sporty family. We cover every game, every moment, and every story that matters in the world of sports with the energy and the passion these moments deserve. Turn on the notification bell so you do not miss our Game 6 reaction the moment that final buzzer sounds. Subscribe to Abdali Sporty. We will see you soon. God bless you.